People are going to think that we're just making this up just because we're officially out of ideas, which has been my worry for the better part of the last 6 months, honestly, is that we one day will just have run out of content and then we'll just be making things up.
I don't think we've made anything up.
That's my worry, though, is one day we're just going to sit down here and I'm going to be like, you know what's boring? Our lives. You know what's not happening in the news? Anything. So let's just shoot from the hip.
Aliens have landed.
And we will be the first to let you know if that happens. Side note, the Pentagon released their UFO findings. Nothing of note per se,
so
but there's a bunch of things that they have no explanation for, to which they say, your guess is as good as ours. Don't believe them. Area 51, Nevada, check it out.
So that's kind of the same old story.
Same old story, but at least they confirmed that there are things that they don't know about.
Okay. Well, there's things I don't know about, and there's things you don't know about.
Speaking about things we don't know about, let's talk about airline travel.
Do we have to?
Okay.
Oh.
I swear you guys think we're making this up, and I promise you we are not. Last week, we referenced Deb getting an article that said American Airlines is planning on canceling hundreds, if not thousands of flights over the course of the summer. You are flying a ton. When I fly with you, I fly American.
Right.
It's well documented that you have reached out on multiple occasions to rectify the issue that has been flight travel. It's clearly much bigger than just American. It's much bigger than you. It's everybody. Like manna from the heavens, we're sitting in the living room watching ABC's nightly news at 6 o'clock. One of the top stories, like in the third or the fourth story out of the lead, is American Airlines is canceling tons of flights. No sooner do they do their 2-minute story about American Airlines canceling flights, we receive a text alert, email alert, app alert that the flight we have booked at 6 o'clock in the morning has been canceled from Reno to Dallas that will continue on to Savannah, Georgia. Like it literally could not have happened more perfectly. We were warned by an article. We were warned by the news. And then Americans like, Zeners, are you okay with this? Because poof, it's gone.
Yeah.
You spent the rest of the night on 3 different occasions having to call American Airlines because the available flights on the app didn't match with the available flights on the website, which didn't match with the available flights that you could just see on third-party sites. Nothing made sense. You talked to 3 different people. It took you close to 5 hours when it was all said and done. And this is you having priority. This is you being a Premier member. This is you having her own personal phone number to be able to call these people. And still, nobody had any earthly idea what was happening. So our flight was canceled 12 hours before we were set to take off. We were told that we wouldn't be able to really fly out until the next day, if at all, on American. You looked at Delta, you looked at United, we looked at Southwest. Nothing that was going to be affordable was available to us.
Right.
Except the red eye.
The dreaded red eye.
If there's a lot of things that have surprised me about this podcast. I didn't think anybody watched needles go into their arm. I'm the outlier, apparently. You sick freaks love to watch a sharp steel object go right into your body.
We're not talking about drugs. We're talking about like drawing blood or getting a vaccination.
I'm not going to yuck anybody else's yum. If you're a drug addict, then you probably enjoy that too. If you like red eyes, there is no space in my life for you.
I can't be with you. Yeah.
It is like that shouldn't be an option. That should not be allowed. Human beings should not be forced to get onto an airplane to travel anywhere past, 8 o'clock at night.
Well, here's the thing. If you really are a person that can get in an airline seat, and I know a couple, and just fall deep asleep, conk out.
Yeah.
Like, great. Those are the people that should take it.
Sure.
I am not one of those people.
Not even close.
I doze, and then I jerk awake, and then I doze.
Yep.
It's just, awful.
Now, I've said that I really like to explore a bed when I sleep. I like to roll. I like to twist. I like to turn. Imagine being 6'7" and confined to an airline seat. It is my own personal straitjacket. I hate it. So sleep is not even close to an option.
Yeah.
So how did I try to combat that?
Well, I mean, I thought you were,
No, answer the question. How did I try to combat the red eye?
Oh, you had a nap. Is
At what time?
Was it about 3 or 4 that you went down?
I tried to go to quote unquote bed at 3:30 in hopes of getting like 5 or 6 hours of sleep so that I could wake back up, get ready, put all my stuff together, and go to the airport at 11 o'clock at night.
For a midnight flight.
Awful.
How you were in your room.
Yeah.
How much did you actually sleep?
Like 3 hours.
So the one thing I said to you, because you knew we ran out of choices. And the one thing, unless we wanted to get there 2 days late, which then it wasn't even worth going.
No.
And I just said to you, I can't have you be in a bad mood. I can't have you be cranky. Right. And so you were like, okay, I'm going to have a nap there. Okay. We have a 4.5 hour layover in Dallas. They gave us Admirals Clubs. Okay. There's a quiet room there.
Yep.
I mean, you put on a really good, positive, I can do this kind of thing.
I managed to cobble together a normal night's worth of sleep over 12 hours or 16 hours.
Yeah.
Not the best. No. So I slept for 3 hours, got my stuff together, begrudgingly went on the plane, but I don't think I showed any animosity or anger to the likes of that. We flew to Dallas. We were like one of the first people in the Admirals Club. Again, we don't have passes. They gave us passes because they felt bad for us. There's a quiet room. Ironically, the quiet room is directly next to the bar and the food plaza. So there's nothing really quiet about it.
But they do have lounge.
But they have these reclining chairs, and this will be the last part we talk about. They have these like recliners, like chaise lounges.
Yeah, very modern looking, kind of Scandinavian style.
Yeah, and they're kind of meant to form to your body.
Leather.
But they're just uncomfortable enough where you can't actually sleep. Like you can't move it. It's in a permanent shape.
Right.
And so they're like, yeah, use this to relax, but you're not going to sleep here. It's like something stolen out of McDonald's from the 80s seating. Like you can sit here, but it won't be just comfortable enough for you to sit here long enough.
I have an awesome picture you can post of you asleep.
I said, watch me, American Airlines Admiral Club. And I put in my earbuds so that I couldn't hear anything. I turned my mask into an eye covering.
That's right.
And I went full fetal position and like nestled into the nook of this chair with my head like falling off the side. The amount of chiropractic bills I'm going to have from this are going to be astronomical. But I managed to probably get like an hour and a half worth of sleep. And I can only fathom what everybody else saw when they walked into this quiet room, which is you know, dressed nice and maybe doing some work, listening to a podcast, reading a book, and your 36-year-old son just
up like a 4-year-old,
looking like a beaten dog from an SPCA commercial, just, you know, as tight as humanly possible, trying to extract sleep from an otherwise horrible circumstance.
You know, I will say, let me find the bright spots. Everybody was very kind along the way. I didn't get any nasty people.
True.
Turns out the Admirals Club has more than hard-boiled eggs for breakfast.
Well, the good ones do.
Yeah, the good one. Yeah, this was a flagship one. And turns out, had we wanted, we could have gotten $1,200 per ticket.
Well, yeah.
On our next flight.
On the second leg to Savannah, they were like, anybody want to get bumped? $1,200 voucher, not $1,200 real dollars, voucher. And I looked at you and I said, I'm not going to make it.
Yeah.
If I'm going to be in this, the next flight wasn't going to leave for another 7 hours. I said, if I'm going to be in this airport for another 7 hours, they're going to probably be dragging me out the front door, not on an airplane.
Now, I do just want to say this, and I hate to promote TSA too much, but...
Why would you ever promote TSA?
But today, when we got to the Savannah airport, I am telling you, it was.
Oh, you're not promoting. This is the opposite. You're not promoting TSA. You are what you meant to say is, I don't want to be critical of TSA. Mm-hmm. The opposite of promoting.
It was an hour wait. It is. To get through TSA it is a
5 o'clock in the morning.
It is a small airport. It was crazy.
Needless to say, if American Airlines wants to advertise with the Deb and Kev podcast, we will switch our tune real quick. Let's start the podcast.
Welcome to the Deb and Kev podcast. One is a Harvard Business School alum. The other is her son, discussing business, pop culture, family, and everything in between. Now, here are your hosts, Deb and Kev.
Hey, hi, hello, and welcome to the Deb and Kev podcast. Across from me is Her Highness. It's the Princess of Potassium. It's my mom, Deb. And I am an honorary Savannah banana, and I'm the #1 newest fan. I'm her son, Kev, and this is our podcast, and we'll explain these references in a second. On today's show, in her business segment, Deb is going to talk to all the employees of the world about how you can demonstrate your value in a performance review. And we have a highly contentious and fun-filled round of Would You Rather, and we'll wrap the whole darn thing up with what we're eating and what we're thankful for. But first, we might as well tell you about the trip we took as opposed to just the abomination that it was getting there. We were in Savannah for the better part of this week, and we had an amazing time.
An amazing time.
Before we left, it was supposed to be an entire week of rain. An entire week of rain. We saw rain for about 10 minutes. Yeah. One afternoon, we were fully covered from it. It was like a literal downpour that somebody just turned the spigot on, turned it back off. 30 minutes later, it was blue skies.
Yep.
From a weather standpoint in the South in June, couldn't ask for more. How did you cope with the humidity?
Well, it was humid. There's no question about it. I thought my hair looked so great in the room. And then shortly when I got, I'm even saying in the hallway of the hotel.
Yep.
And then it went down, the elevator, it changed again and then hit the lobby. And by then it was over.
Yeah.
The good hair was gone.
The indoor air conditioned room is fool's gold in the South in the summer. It cannot be trusted. So the weather, fantastic. You had been to Savannah before years ago.
Yep.
I'd never been to Savannah despite all of my travels. You loved it. I'd spoken to other people who loved it. And with my reference point really being like New Orleans and the outlying areas, Savannah is extremely similar to New Orleans in the huge Spanish moss covered oak trees, the rich history, a lot of homes predating this country that they now exist in, Southern hospitality, great food. The better part of Savannah than in New Orleans is it's not technically below sea level. The roads aren't falling apart. There's not chaos on a daily basis. It's much more easy to navigate than New Orleans is, but a beautiful city nonetheless. And the way it's built around all those squares that again are, hundreds of years old it's so much fun just to walk around.
It's beautiful. I was there before in February, and so it was lovely weather. And I knew at the time, you can't pick Savannah until you've been there.
Yep.
In the summertime, which now I have.
You have.
And it's humid.
It is. Here's how I know I've been conditioned. That wasn't even bad for me.
Oh, and it required no lotion.
It was, I think it was probably 75 to 80% humidity. And I was like, oh, this is okay.
Yeah.
This isn't terrible.
Yeah. It was, it was not, it was terrible for your hair. It was great for your skin.
Yep.
But it was not terrible to be out in if you had the right clothes on. Yeah. If you had the right clothes on.
At no point. So here are my other takeaways from Savannah.
Yeah.
The downtown corridor, like every city's downtown corridor, you get tired of very quick, right? It's probably 4 blocks wide by 12 blocks long. And the more centralized you get, the more chaos kind of happens. They, similar to New Orleans, have an open container law. So as long as your cup is not greater than 12 ounces, you can take a beer or a wine or a cocktail freely on your walk to wherever your next venture takes you, which is great. People love that. The amount of bachelorette parties that took place in Savannah, I'm not kidding you. You guys are thinking like, oh, well, yeah, it was a nice weekend. I bet there was like a handful per block. The peddler bike bars where, you know, people sit down and they're pedaling and they're drinking, those flooded the streets and were ram-jammed with bachelorette parties. When they weren't on those rides, they were just aimlessly walking the streets of Savannah. If they weren't aimlessly walking the streets of Savannah, they were on the trolleys for the guided tours. There were hundreds of bachelorette parties, meaning there was thousands of women there for one specific reason, which is to get smashed.
Party their brains out.
It was unreal.
What did Eric say when we were going to lunch?
He said, I could throw a dead cat and hit a handful of bachelorette parties.
Exactly, which was true.
Easily.
It was absolutely true. So the one thing I do want to highlight, we went to a number of restaurants.
Yep.
And every single one I was so happy with.
Favorite meal, go.
Well, we were lucky enough to eat at the Pink House.
It's called the Old Pink House, OLDE, because it's bougie like that.
And our, actually, it was really funny because our Uber driver said, oh my gosh, you could probably just sell your reservation for $500.
Yep.
Like it's so hard to get into.
I stepped outside about 7:30. We got there at 5:30. I stepped outside about 7:30 just to get a breath of fresh air, answer a phone call. The hostess had these two people walk up and she said, well, 7:30 is usually our busiest time, which makes sense. That's dinner time. And she said, I can put your name down on the reservation or for a reservation in 2.5 hours. You're going to eat at 10 p.m.?
Yeah. It was amazing, but it's an amazing experience.
Yep.
The best customer service, really good food, but
you're eating in an old house where Thomas Jefferson used to stay and donated parts of the home that still exists.
Right. And the history of it, and they tell it to you. It's all magic. And I would recommend it, but then I would also say call long in advance before you arrive in Savannah or you'll never get a reservation.
At least 6 weeks ahead of time.
Yeah.
Minimum.
But we stumbled onto a little lunch place. And do you remember the name of it?
We were there for a while, so you're going to have to tell me which lunch place.
That we had, where we had the sushi salads.
Coco and Mas.
Oh my gosh. We just stumbled in. Literally, we were like, we're going to get a coffee or we're going to get a cocktail. I mean, it was like, 2:00 in the afternoon or something. And we were with a couple friends. And then we decided to eat when we saw the menu.
Yep.
My sushi salad was unbelievable.
I was going to say, it was without question the healthiest thing we ate all weekend.
For sure.
There was not a lot of shades of brown on that dish.
Nothing was deep fried. It was delicious. I will say I had, when we went to a little corner place called B. Matthews, which was adorable, I had shrimp and grits, which was fabulous.
Oh, that's interesting you mentioned shrimp and grits because I had it 3 times while we were there.
Oh, did you have it 3 times?
I realized that the other day that I just kept eating shrimp and grits.
But you have to talk about your crazy pork shank.
I mean, it wasn't really crazy. I think you guys kind of hyped it up to be a little more crazy than it was.
It was enormous.
It was a normal-sized pork shank that they had braised for hours and hours, so it was clearly falling off the bone. And then they made a jus of it over cheesy grits. So then I had grits 4 times while I was there.
So we are
gluten-free, by the way.
As everybody knows, we're gluten-free. It is really hard to go through a Southern menu.
Almost impossible.
Yeah, and find gluten-free.
But here's the highlight. Here's the highlight of the trip.
This is it.
And you guys are going to think we're crazy. But if you find yourself in Savannah, Georgia, or if you know you're going to go to Savannah, Georgia, the first thing, before you even make the reservation for Old Pink House, go buy tickets to the independent baseball team, the Savannah Bananas. It was the most fun I have had at a sporting event in the longest time I can fathom. Their owner, Jesse, bought the team in 2015. It was nothing. It was a nothing burger. They were called the Savannah Sand Gnats at the time.
Sand Gnats?
Sand
Gnats.
Gnats.
Didn't know that.
And he said the independent league baseball teams can pretty much do whatever they want to do. We're going to rebrand it. We're going to go heavy on puns. The Savannah Bananas. They have Princess of Potassium, this woman dressed in a big yellow gown that walks around taking pictures. They have dad bod male cheerleaders called Manana cheerleaders.
Yep.
They have an old dance crew made up of elderly women that they call the Savannah Banana Nana dancers.
And they dance.
Heavy pun. So he bought this team and he said, we're just going all in on it. If you've ever seen the movie Semi-Pro with Will Ferrell, where they're the Flint Tropics and they can't get anybody there, but his whole mentality is, how do I market this team? How do I get all the locals to buy in? And how do I do the most ostentatious, over the top, insane things? Well, this guy did it in the real world. It's a 3.5 to 4 hour spectacle. It's non-stop. Before the game even starts, there's a full band. There's dancers. There's the team out front.
The team dances and
dancing,
sings.
Singing. People are lined up, happy, watching this thing take place. The production behind it is the likes of Broadway. There is no sporting event you have ever gone to, I don't care what level, that would challenge what they do from beginning to end. It was unreal. And here are the takeaways. We thought with our particular ticket, we got free concessions, not booze, but free concessions. Spoiler alert, you buy a ticket, everybody gets free concessions.
Is that true?
You get as many as you want. Hamburgers, cheeseburgers, chicken sandwiches, hot dogs, popcorn. You get all the free sodas. You get free water. The only thing they charge for is candy and alcohol. That's it.
Wow, I had no idea.
Tickets are $20.
It was you had said you've got to leave your pride at the door and just be a kid when you walk in. And that is such a good piece of advice, because we walked in and I am telling you, I don't know, from experience type things. So if you think Broadway show, or if you think Disneyland, or if you think...
I'm saying from a production standpoint.
It was better than all of that. I would go there again before I would go to Disneyland, for sure.
It was a spectacle. The owner, it starts with the owner. The owner is in head to toe yellow suit, yellow pants, yellow sport coat, yellow shirt, yellow tie, yellow top hat, just dripping in the brand, right? And I would look at anybody, even if you don't like baseball, but you're a business owner, or you're trying to figure yourself out. You know what this group did? He said, I'm going to live and breathe this. I'm going to sell myself on this, and from this, everybody else is going to buy into it. It's one of the greatest things I've ever seen. There was not a single frown in the entire place. I guarantee they've never had a fight in that stadium because everybody's way too happy about it. Every second of downtime is filled with an announcer or a game. They are, instead of throwing the opening pitch, they throw the opening banana. They have people on the field every second between innings. It's just I keep saying unreal, because I couldn't fathom something like this existing in 2021, where there's so much apathy. There's so much cynicism, and everybody there, all 4,000 people going to an independent league baseball game, just probably felt like kids again. Oh, and by the way, this small baseball team that really doesn't amount to anything because it's not affiliated with the majors has a waiting list of 9,000 people for season tickets.
It is ridiculously fun, unexpected fun. He has taken, in terms of business, the business concept. Number one, he's hired the right people.
Yep.
He's got the right people on the bus. There is not a frown in the place. There is no dismissiveness. They greet you with the biggest grins, like...
I posted some stuff on social media. A minute later, their account was already responding to my stuff.
Oh, that's amazing.
They're just on it. They get it. They
Yeah.
truly understand what they need to do to be successful, and it has nothing to do with baseball.
No,
If you were going to lean on baseball, you were going to die a slow, painful death again.
You can tell me all day long you hate baseball. Baseball's too slow. I don't care. I don't like to go to games. You should still go do this.
It has, yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
Somebody said you go to an amusement park and a baseball game breaks out.
Yeah.
Baseball game is the backdrop to the fun that you're having, and they ingratiate themselves to every age. Every single game, they honor a baby. They let the parents come out there. It's usually like anywhere between a 1-month-old to a 6-month-old. So now you have just, completely monopolized a family that will be Savannah Banana fans forever. They highlight the longest tenured married couple in the crowd before the game. They span the gambit of every type of person and age and demographic, and they make them all feel welcome. I swear to you, if you just want to feel better about yourself, buy a ticket to Savannah. The American Airlines experience will make you feel worse. But then when you get off the plane in Savannah, go to a Savannah Banana game, and it is just like being a kid. I was in the stadium for 5 minutes before I bought
Yeah, you
my
went and bought
jersey.
a jersey immediately.
I was like,
I saw you in that, and I was like, what?
Yeah, it says bananas on it. How do you not buy a jersey that says bananas on it?
It was, it's good, clean fun.
Totally.
Is what it is.
And on every level.
And then one of your pals, Muhammad, decided to go compete for the what? The Man
Nana cheerleading squad, where they only let people with dad bods participate.
Muhammad's 24 and not a dad.
And he won
Yay.
by ripping his shirt off and unsuccessfully doing the worm on home plate. It was one of the greatest things in the world. Again, the highlight of the trip. The food was fantastic. The weather was great. The people were always welcoming as they are in the South. Savannah Bananas. Do it.
I'm telling you, I recommend it highly. It was absolutely terrific.
Deborah, the business segment today, we're going straight employee focused. We are going to tell all those beautiful, wonderful people who work for other people, we're going to tell them how they can demonstrate their value in a performance review. Very specific today.
We're going to take the side of the employees.
Well, I mean, I feel like we usually do. Well, maybe we don't.
We speak. No. We're always on their side.
Do we skew capitalism?
No, but I think we skew boss advice.
Okay.
On behalf of the employees, for the benefit of the employees often. But I do think we skew boss advice.
Today we're employee advocates in this one general piece of employment.
Specific piece of employment. And because we want them to get it right. Because we want them to get a good review.
We do want that. So talk to us a little bit about performance reviews, expectations, and then how somebody can absolutely nail it.
So in most companies, people know sort of what the performance review process would look like. And some companies do 360 reviews where everybody kind of reviews each other. Some companies have like just a normal format that they use and people know what it looks like. And it could be, I don't know, judging them in stars or 1 through 5 or ABC, whatever. I don't know.
Yep.
Competent, non-competent, whatever. In a perfect world, the person should have a copy of that that they can look at so that they know how they're being assessed.
Prior to or after the fact?
Well, prior to, so that they can be ready for the conversation.
Got it. I just like the old school gladiator, thumbs up, thumbs down. And based on that, you keep your job or you're murdered.
Yeah, there's either a box there for you to put your stuff in or not. Yeah. So in a perfect world, we would give them, and I would, this note to bosses and managers, give them the format that you're speaking from if you have something formal. So if you have a form.
Like a literal form.
Got it. Give it to them. Don't give it to them with your notes or grades or anything, but just give it to them because that tells them the subject matter.
We're getting dangerously close to being back in school here.
Kind of.
And I don't like that.
Kind of. So one of the things that I think, when they give you that form, you can fill it all out as you think you do, right? And of course, you're going to err on the side of yourself, right?
Sure.
I mean, but then people feel like, well, I can't put, well, I mean, there's different personalities, but a lot of people feel like this would be me. I can't put straight A's on everything. So what am I going to give myself a C on? Or you kind of.
And meanwhile, I'm here being like, I mean, how could I possibly knock myself down from straight A's? I am such a wonderful employee.
And that is how people think of it differently. So it feels like a no-win game for the employee. And there is nothing worse than you putting something down or that your notes are entirely different than your boss's.
Yeah, that'd be bad.
I mean, that feels terrible. So there's 3 things that I think an employee can do to really get themselves ready and to kind of take control of it a little bit so that they feel at least they've left their message, with their boss or on the table.
Love it.
So one of the first things I think is just kind of brazenly highlight your achievements at the beginning of the conversation.
I care too much. I work too hard.
No, not like that.
Oh, okay.
So it would be more like talking about specific projects, talking about like if there's something the culture really values that, that you refer to that. Like, I know we really value this and I always do that to make sure that this happens, right? If it is a project environment, then you would make reference to, oh my gosh, this project came in on time. It came in under budget. I put extra hours into making sure that it was right. I loved working with the team. All the things that would be evaluated, you get to say that stuff. This is the one time you get to openly be a little bit of braggadocious without being obnoxious about
Do you get
yourself.
to say how you helped specific people? Not like you're throwing them under the bus because they needed your help, but without you, maybe Daryl didn't get as far with this project had you not helped him out.
So with something like that, I might say, I love working with Daryl.
Yeah.
And I love to encourage him and I love to support him.
Mm-hmm.
And on this project I did, because what we don't want to do is we don't want to knock anybody else down.
I know, but there's a piece of me that's kind of like, I'm not going to poo-poo on anybody, right? But I am going to say how I made sure that my presence was known and benefited them, which might then lead somebody reading it. And that's not my own decision. That's their decision. If they want to extrapolate something from it that, hey, without Kevin, this project would have gone down in a fiery inferno and everybody else was, looking to him for leadership. I mean, you can take that from it.
You would talk about the leadership capabilities for sure.
And how Daryl lacked them.
But we probably wouldn't want to take the attention for somebody like
Fair
you
enough.
away from what you don't want me to say is, Kevin, we're not here to talk about Daryl.
I know, and we shouldn't because he didn't do anything on this project.
So we're probably not going to mention people's names.
Fair enough.
Unless we're going to tout them. Then I think the other thing is, I think we do things for our bosses all the time. And I don't mean like, bring a cup of coffee. I mean, like we take work off their desk.
Yep.
We help. And I think it's important to be able to say that. Like, and, we frame it not like, hey, I did your work and I helped you out, but we frame it like, I love it when you give me the opportunity to, like on the so-and-so case or on whatever it was. Do you know what I mean? That kind of thing. So that your boss remembers. Because part of the thing is you remember things entirely different than what your boss remembers. I mean, your boss is at a different level looking at all sorts of people, all sorts of projects, all sorts of things. And so if you have specifically helped your boss out, that's the time to do it. Again.
Is this point number 2 you're making right
Yes.
now? So the first one is highlight yourself without dragging down Daryl. And the
Yes.
second is kind of remind your boss how you've helped them by lightening their load a little bit.
Exactly. And what you're doing with that, you're going to use terms like team player, I'm willing to help up or down. Do you mean kind of the 360 degree kind of thing? Meaning that there's nobody too important, there's nobody too small. There's nobody, your coworkers, the people really that have a similar position to yours, you're willing to help them. So that's really what you want to remind. You want to recap, if it's been a year, you want to recap the year in the most positive frame about what you've done.
Got it.
Without being a braggart.
Without demeaning Daryl.
Or anyone else.
Or anybody else whose name starts with D.
Okay. So the last thing is, and I think this is important because I think one of the things that bosses worry about all the time is your tenure with the company? Like, how long are you going to be here?
Meaning, does that weigh into how they're going to view you?
Well, I think if I am worried, if I have some reasons, I overheard something or something was said to me that Kevin might not be long for this company, that he's looking around. If I really genuinely believe that that's true, it absolutely could affect not the review I give you probably, because if you're, I mean, a good review is a good review, a bad is a bad one, but it might affect the money I give you.
But what does that have anything to do with me?
Well, if I think you're leaving, then you may not be a long-term investment in my mind.
But what is going into your belief that I'm leaving? Did Daryl say something to you?
No. Well, Daryl might have. It could have been Daryl.
Unbelievable.
But if I think that, so I think it's really important, and this is number 3, to reiterate your commitment to the company, as long as it's true.
Got it.
Which means, like, I believe in what we're doing, right? I like the way we do it. I want to be here for a good long time. I mean, we're not going to say 3 years, 5 years, but for a good long time. And that they really understand, you know, how you feel sort of about them and the organization. And speak to the good things that you like. If there's things about the culture that you like, if there's flex time and that really suits you and your personal life, be grateful for that. But talk about, so you've sort of shown the light on yourself. You've shown the light on how you've helped your boss. And now you're going to shine the light on the company. So you're not keeping it all for yourself, if you will, but you start off with you. And here's the thing that can happen. That boss is holding a piece of paper that has a certain assessment on it, right?
Yep.
And if you can open up, and I think they often want you to open up, if you can open up and lead with those kinds of things, and don't even speak to the stuff on the paper, that doesn't matter. If you can do this, then I can assure you, because I've been a boss, that might make me change my assessment, and you would never know it. Do you know what I mean? It'll just, I mean, at the end, I'll kind of reword what I'm saying, and instead of having you at a 4 or a B or a 3 stars, whatever it is, I mean, I could easily move you up because now you've re-impressed me.
Miss Debbie, I have a question.
Yes.
As it relates to performance reviews, what are the general expectations on either side of a performance review? Meaning, as an employee, am I going into this thinking, if this goes well, I get a raise? Or am I thinking, if this goes well, I keep my job? Or am I thinking, if this goes bad, I get fired? Or am I thinking, if this goes bad, I get a certain amount of time to do well again to then get a raise? I mean, what are the general expectations of a performance review?
Such a good question.
Thank you.
No, I mean, such a good question, because I think some bosses, like I've known what I'm going to call some terrorist bosses,
Ooh.
you know, who are just like, I mean, everybody doesn't deserve a raise every year. Now, I don't disagree with that.
Sure.
For a couple of reasons. Every single person doesn't deserve a raise every year. Maybe their work performance doesn't deserve it, right? Sometimes the company doesn't have the extra assets to give it, right?
Yep.
So then in that case, it has to be explained, you know, there aren't going to be any raises this year, right? Whatever the situation is, the correct story needs to be told to the employees, because they need to set their expectations. I think most employees believe, unless they've been told otherwise, that a raise and a review are kind of happening simultaneously.
Got it.
You know, I think most employees believe that with their whole heart. And so when you've got that belief walking in, and then somebody gave you a great raise, it would be awful then to be sitting there. I mean, not a great raise, a great review. It would be awful to be sitting there and waiting for the raise and have it not come, or just be dismissed, like, you know, some of the terrorist bosses I know that have said just like, oh, we're not doing raises this year. And then, but the truth is, you haven't done in the last 3 years.
Right.
So am I ever going to get a raise again? Right. I mean,
Totally.
That becomes the question. Am I ever going to get a raise again? So I don't think that review means raise. Legitimately, I don't think that. But I do think that it needs to be explained to the employee and employees as a group, like what's going on and when they can expect, you know, raises to come again, because people do count on those.
And so then what happens if, I mean, it's great to play out everything went swimmingly, you're exceeding all expectations, and here's more money that's commensurate with your performance. What if you go through the review and it's certainly not fireable, but it's not ideal?
Yeah.
As the employee, do you get to say, I mean, I don't know that I agree or disagree with this, but this is certainly your stance on it. So I have things that I need to work on. Is there an opportunity for me in a quicker fashion to get another review to see if and how I've ironed these things out?
Okay, so that is like the perfect question. If the review has not gone well for you, I mean, where it's not sitting right with you, then I would go to those components that you maybe agree or disagree with, whatever. And I would say, I would actually, before they could say to me like, hey, let's put some kind of action plan in place to fix that, I would actually say, okay, so you think this, I think you think it a little more than I do. Do you mean, but let's not, we don't need to haggle over that. I just want to get it right. And so how can we get it right? And then when can we come together again and review this? Because you're absolutely correct. You could go out and fix the thing and it's all done. And there's no record now of that being fixed. The only record, if you will, is that somebody talked to you about it being a problem in a review thing. So that's exactly what somebody should do. If they're intent on staying with that company and wanting to fix the item, they should just grab the gauntlet themselves. And I will tell you, if I were their boss, I would be really impressed by that.
Because the reason I asked that is I shouldn't have to wait for another year to have another review.
Oh, no.
Now, if it's just like the entire thing is below average and they are going to look at me and say, this is like a culture change in yourself. And so, I mean, unless it's just so blatantly obvious that in 6 months' time, you're a wholly different employee, let's just spend the next year really working on this and cultivating it. And then we'll have a very thorough assessment, because we have so much evidence again of where you're at. But if it's like one thing or two things that you're close on, but just not quite reaching, I don't want to wait, another year to do this thing.
Well, I wholeheartedly agree. And because this has been, we'll call it the formal piece of it, you want to make it formal also if you improve it, right?
Totally.
But in a good world, good bosses should be, I want to say, casually sitting their people down. And I would say in an ideal world, once a quarter, how's it going? What can I do to help you? Anything that you need, anything you find frustrating. And that's a perfect time to say, listen, I think you're a grade A employee, but you're always late on getting the notes in on this thing.
Yeah.
Like, what can we do to so that isn't like a big, you like this employee, you're going to keep them, right? But they have this one timeliness issue on one thing. So, you're referring to them then like, hey, let's get that, let's make that better. But that's really casual. And I think you should be doing that, because I think the process of evaluation should be a two-way street, and that should be going on year round.
That's great. What else, Deb? Is there anything else that we need to know about our performance reviews?
No, I think that they're hard if they don't go the way you want them to. None of us like to be criticized. I always say, if somebody tells me something about myself, true or not, if it's bad, my first thing is I feel two things simultaneously. Like they've stabbed me in the gut.
Oh, yeah.
And then they're wrong.
Totally.
Those are the two things I feel. So you have to give me a breath. I just go into a defensive mode, right? Because I've just been stabbed in the gut.
Yep.
And so you got to give me a minute to breathe. And usually I think I'm pretty good at knowing if it's true. I think sometimes there are genuine things where you just go, we might have to disagree on this one.
Yep.
But what do I need to do to convince you? Because if you're the boss, I need to convince you that it's better. And then I think some of it is, honestly, we're not surprised. We just wondered whether they knew,
Fair. It's like, I wonder if they picked up on this thing that I'm very much aware of. Everybody else is very much aware of, but maybe they're just far enough away from it that they don't see it. And then when they bring it up, you're like, okay.
Yeah. I wonder if they know that we're supposed to be at our desk working at 8:00, and I come in at 8:03 and 8:05 and, never 8:15, but, never on time either.
And I always manage to be the first one out for lunch.
Yep. Yep.
But I bring back Starbucks for everybody.
But they might not notice that, right?
Very true.
We're hoping.
All right, Deb, let's move on to the most controversial segment that we do.
I
It's
know.
Would You Rather? The amount of people that push back on me because I push back on you is really startling, because if anything, I just force you to really think about the commitment to your answer.
That's a great spin that you put on that.
Thank you.
In the beginning, people were just on my side, but now I've had people, Jill, specifically turn on me for not standing up to you enough, and the thing she's really rabid over is George Clooney and Ryan Reynolds. Never in a million years would it be Ryan Reynolds. And so she goes, she goes, in your heart, it's George Clooney.
I like
Clooney
that.
And Lake Como.
I like that she's telling you that your opinion sucks, so you should listen to her opinion, while saying my opinion sucks, so you shouldn't listen to my opinion.
What she's saying is, I know what's in your heart, Deb. Stand up for George Clooney.
That's what I'm saying too.
Yeah.
I know you gave an answer, Deb, but I also know what's in your heart, and it's both.
Okay.
All right, here's a couple would you rather questions, Deb. There is no right or wrong answer. It's simply
Apparently.
What do you believe? Would you rather never be stuck in traffic again or never get another cold?
Never get another cold.
Really?
Oh, come on.
It's just a cold.
I don't care.
You can't
my age,
deal. Here we go. Here we go.
At my age, to be able to say from now until the day of my death, I will never get another
You
cold.
can still get the flu.
I will never get another cold.
You can still get COVID 2.0. And
I will never get another cold.
Yeah.
I would be as happy as can be.
Imagine all the places you could go. Never being stuck in traffic.
Kevin,
Never stopping.
I am going to, well, it's not never stopping. It's just stuck in traffic.
Well, but that's what I'm saying is your car is traveling at the precise rate it should always travel at. There is nothing that happens outside
Kevin,
of your
that stuff
purview.
just doesn't annoy me.
What if you're sitting in traffic for 2 hours?
It doesn't annoy
That's
me.
insane. That's
I'll listen to a
that's
podcast.
a lie.
No, seriously.
Now you're lying.
I am not lying.
You're okay just sitting in traffic.
We're gonna have
bumper
to agree to disagree.
bumper traffic.
We live in a town with no traffic.
That's not the point. Traffic just happens. We drive places, we run into it. And you're telling me you're super okay just looking at somebody's rear window, trying to see if you can see through that window through somebody else's window
Kevin.
to determine why traffic is backed up 7 miles. And you're like, well, okay, let's just throw in a podcast.
I'll throw in a podcast. I'll call a friend on the phone. But to know that I'm never going to have a cold again, it would make me happy. I'm going to pick the cold all day long. I mean, seriously.
But you can control the cold.
What do you mean I can control the
Wash your
cold?
hands.
Well, of course, all of that.
Wear your mask.
Kevin, you have a thing about traffic. This is your
I'm
deal.
just saying there's one element that you can actually control, which is not getting a cold.
Wear a mask.
And the other one is you can't control traffic.
I don't want to wear a mask every day for the rest of my life.
Well, then you're going to get stuck in traffic.
No, I'm going to get a cold.
I actually don't know that knock on wood. I don't think I've had an actual cold
Well, I haven't had
in
a cold.
like 2 or 3 years.
Well, one of those years we didn't leave our house.
Well, yeah,
and we've been
nobody had a
wearing
cold
mask.
last year.
Yeah.
But I haven't had, the one place that I go to where I would be susceptible to it is the gym, but the gym gives you a bunch of wet wipes at a bunch of different stations. And so I use those things like a maniac, but it's because I watch everybody not use those things as
Right.
well. And so I feel like if I'm hyper vigilant in that space, then I can be a little more free everywhere else. But I feel like I haven't had a cold in 2 or 3 years, but I've definitely been stuck in traffic.
Yeah. Well, the cold thing, what happens now for me with colds, I can remember when colds would be like 48 hours. You knew the exact cycle.
Yep.
Now it just moves. It's more like 4 or 5 days. It moves through me so slowly. Nope.
I'm
can't do it.
picturing driving without stopping, and it is making me so happy.
I'm picturing no cold. I mean, like I never have to worry about it.
If you could like register my endorphins right now, they're surging. Just like my eyes are closed and I'm just like going around bends and I'm just, going with the flow of traffic and easing my way in and out. It makes me so happy.
I'm glad that makes you happy.
Thank you.
But I'm still going with no cold.
Fair enough. Deb, would you rather experience the world beginning or the end of the world? Right? That's actually a great one.
That's a great question.
Yeah.
So you mean Adam and Eve?
Oh, I don't know.
Well, I mean, like,
however this world existed, you're present for it, and that's one of the questions: is was it made? Was there a man who cobbled it all together and then rested on the seventh day, and then you get to walk in and be like, "Oh, this is pretty cool," or do you just get to stand on the moon with your binoculars and watch as the world ends, however it's going to end? Because the world ending almost makes the beginning moot, right?
Right.
But the world beginning answers all of the questions that we all battle with today.
I mean, such a privilege either way.
Totally.
Right? I mean, like, such a privilege. But I think that I need to be really, really superficial in my answer.
Okay.
Like, if I were plopped on in the beginning, like I'm naked and there's bugs and what is there to eat?
Everything.
Where do I sleep?
I mean, I don't think the world was a vast wasteland when it started.
No, even if I was put in the most lush garden.
Oh, but here's the thing. It could have been a vast wasteland when it started.
I know.
And then like microorganisms from meteors that slammed into it brought some form of bacteria that over millennia turned into grass.
Yeah, that could have been pretty boring waiting for all that to happen, right? I think most of me, only because I have a better picture of it, would rather, I have a really nice vision in my mind of the world beginning, and I want to hold on to that.
Oh, okay.
Okay, my vision.
Okay, sure.
And I have a really dreadful vision of the world ending, but I think I'm okay with it.
But even if you watched the world begin in a way that did not reflect how you thought it was going to begin.
Yeah.
Isn't there a piece of you that says like, well, now I know?
Well, now I know. But I mean, like, do I hang out for 1 billion years waiting for that blade of grass?
I guess what I would say is this is like this answers the questions for you. Okay. You get to be who you are, podcast with your son, be a business consultant. And then one day you're like, I'm going to go see how the world began.
Yeah.
That's sat with me my entire life, and I need it to be either confirmed or denied, but it's power having that knowledge. Conversely, you say, I'm in a dark place. I want to see how the world ends. And
I'm in a dark place.
And then maybe that's not for another 1,000,000 years. So you're like, okay, well, everybody that I know.
This is more of an observation thing.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know that you're like there. Because I don't think either it will be truly meaningful to you.
Yeah,
Because you're like, well, I'm dying. Who cares how the world's ending? Who cares how I die? Or you're not even aware that the world's beginning. You're just there for it.
Right. So that's a little better when you say it's like from an observation place.
Yeah, I think it's totally just like bystander stuff.
One doesn't seem right without the other in that case, does it? I mean, like you genuinely want both.
Here's what I think the problem is, especially if we put this new layer on it. Mm-hmm. If you know how the world begins, it's only you who knows.
Right.
So say it's a bunch of aliens that lost a bet that farted in a jar and threw it out into the galaxy, and from there the fart coagulated. Who are you going to tell that to? Who's going to ever believe it?
Nobody would believe it.
Conversely, you at least know the world's going to end, and you can say like, I know how the world's going to end. Somebody farted in a jar and all hell broke loose. So
the fact that I'm sitting here seriously having a conversation with you about aliens farting in a jar.
I'm just saying it could be anything.
Yeah. I think my bigger intrigue, and I mean it's by very small degrees, is how the world ended and kind of what brought us to that.
That's fair. I think the thing that would actually truly alter your life is if you knew how the world began.
I think so.
Because there's an opportunity for religion to be no part of it.
There is that opportunity.
And then
then there's the opportunity for religion to be all of it.
Sure. And so there is if you want to have it reflect on how you're going to exist, you go to the beginning. If I think you're just inquisitive and you like answers and you want to kind of have the cheat sheet, you go to the end.
And we can't forget in the beginning, there is the possibility that it's all very godlike, but that it's driven in a science method.
I don't know.
Yeah. Better than aliens farting in a jar.
I mean, in theory it is, but it'd also be pretty cool that we're just a bunch of fart byproducts. Okay. Would you rather lose the ability to lie or believe absolutely everything you're told?
I've got to go with lose the ability to lie because I don't do it very well. I don't do it very well.
You just want what is the Steve Martin movie? Where he just believes everybody.
Oh, I don't remember that movie.
The Jerk.
The Jerk. Yeah.
That's who you want to be.
It was like, no.
He wholeheartedly.
No, I'm not going to lie.
Yeah, but
I'm not going to believe everybody.
That means
that was the choice.
Or believe everything you're told.
No, I'm going to lose the ability to lie. I'm not going to believe everything I'm told.
Fair.
Yeah.
So you're just going to
understand your own question.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah.
So you're just going to speak absolute truths.
So here would be the tough one. I mean, because you know that for people that know me really well, I don't lie very good.
No.
About anything important.
No, because all you do is you just keep looking at her and she's going to crack under her own pressure.
I'll crack and I'll laugh. I could, and so it would really mean like, you know, if somebody said to me, what did you get me for Christmas? That would kind of be a spoiler, right?
Would you just run away?
I could run away or say, not going to tell.
Yeah, it's not like Jim Carrey's Liar Liar when posed with the question, you have to like immediately respond.
Right.
But then you're the person who's like, whenever I ask Deb a question,
she turns her back and walks away.
Sprints.
Yeah.
But then there's other questions she's really comfortable answering.
But then there would probably be some places, even maybe in business, where I get myself in trouble.
Clearly.
You know, where I would say, instead of kindly, you know, say when I'm thinking, oh, dear God, do you know what I mean? Something. I still think I'm going to take the no line. I can't believe everything that I'm told. I'm going to sound like a freaking idiot.
There's an innocence with that, though.
There is an innocence with that.
Because I still think it's like, if somebody says, hey, if you give me 10 grand, I'll turn it into $1 million by the end of the week. That doesn't mean that you're just going to innately like do that. I mean, you could believe them, but you would still weigh the risk of that.
But you would get all excited and tell all your friends and sound like a loon.
Yeah. Those people exist today.
So, you know how we think it when we tell little kids made up stories and they believe it and they're silly and we all laugh.
Yeah.
Right? We tell them things that aren't true.
Yep.
That's adorable in little children.
Of course.
It's not adorable in an adult.
I agree. I guess I'm just saying that you can believe everything and still not act on it, right? The inability to lie really puts you in a vulnerable spot on the other side of it.
Do I look fat in this dress?
Right. Dead sprint. That I don't know which, like, I don't want to be the person, because that's just opposite of who I am innately, who I don't question everything, but I don't give everybody the benefit of the doubt that they're telling the truth. You need to like really kind of prove it over time. But the ability to lie, more so how I would do it, is just to protect somebody else, right? I'm not using it to like manipulate my way in somewhere. It's if I lie, it's because I don't want to hurt somebody's feelings, or that person actually wouldn't do well with the truth. Right. So offering it to them in no way helps them.
Right. I mean, I guess I believe that I'm basically a truthful person, and you know, maybe I don't always share my cynical truth or sarcastic truth.
Yeah.
But other than that, I mean, I think you can sidestep those things by either sprinting and running away or just saying, I don't know. I mean, that would be a lie because you do know, or saying, I don't want to comment.
Man.
Which, yeah.
I'm going to go outside of my own belief system and just believe everything that I'm told.
So that would change you dramatically.
In every conceivable way. I just think there's like a childlike ignorance associated with that, where again, you don't have to act on everything. Just because somebody says, hey, give me $100 and I'll return it tomorrow, doesn't mean I have to give them $100. But it just means like, wow, I could give that guy $100 and he's so nice, he would return it to me tomorrow. Oh, I don't have the $100 though, sadly.
So I feel like if you choose that, I need to put a couple labels on you. Super tall.
Yeah.
Good hair. Kind of cute. A real dummy.
But that doesn't mean I'm dumb.
It doesn't mean you're dumb, but if you believe it all,
the one
that
situation
kind of makes you a little bit dumb.
If I started watching politics, my brain would explode because I'm just believing everything that's coming to me from either side on the extremes and in the middle. And I would just say,
you'd just be a heap.
I would just have to start reading.
Yeah.
I would just have to read books. I could never watch television, especially live television or let alone reality TV. If I watched reality TV as somebody who believed every single thing that was told to them,
you couldn't watch science fiction.
I couldn't understand that the bachelors never end up being married. They all said that they love each other. They love each other.
Kevin, I just have to say this about when we play this. I don't know why the heck you didn't go to law school, because you can argue anything.
It's true. I should have been part of speech and debate. Would you rather always have a full battery for your phone charged, or would you rather have a full tank of gas for your car? I know what you would say.
I think I'm going to say full tank of gas.
Oh, I was going to say phone for you.
Oh, no, I'm going to say full tank of gas.
You always run out of your phone
charger. Yeah, I do. But I think like full tank of gas.
I would go with full tank of gas for really two reasons. I always feel like when I have to fill up gas, it's always out of the way. Like at the point that I need gas, it's not convenient for me to go get gas.
Yeah.
Rarely is it that I'm like, I'm low and the gas station happens to be on my way. Plus, it's not that gas is far from us where we live, but it's really not. It's not a hop, skip, and a jump. It's an effort to go there. And we go to like Sam's Club and Costco, and those really are efforts to get there. I think just because of my generation and having cell phones be around so much, I've never, I want to say like 2 or 3 times in my life, I've had my entire battery drained down to nothing where my phone died.
Yeah.
And with cars and other friends, and I mean, there's chargers on airplanes now. Everybody offers some form of a charger somewhere. I would say if you actually run out of it, you've just stopped paying attention on every conceivable level.
I agree. The thing is, and I don't think everybody thinks this, but filling the tank up feels like a chore to me.
It does.
It just feels like, one more errand I had to add to the day.
Yeah.
And especially if you get in the car and realize, it's low and you just hadn't been paying attention.
My other piece of this is that you don't lose the ability to have to pay for it. Like it just automatically comes out when the tank replenishes, because otherwise this is a no-brainer. You're saving thousands of dollars a year.
Right. I mean, I'm assuming we're still paying for it. It's just full all the time.
Yeah, it's just full. Like you look at it, it's down to a spot where you would normally fill it up. There's a little button in the console. Boop, boop, boop. Next time you come home and park, the thing is full.
Wouldn't that be great? I mean, I just think little things for us because, we're mostly in-town drivers.
That's true.
But if we go up to Lake Tahoe, I always check the gas. Now, like half a tank, does it get you up there and back? Sure, it does. But then you get a little iffy.
Yeah, a little nervous coming back. I agree. Full tank of gas it is. Last one. Would you rather, now follow this one. Would you rather have average skill or knowledge in something everyone respects, or be the world's best at something the world thinks is stupid? So like, for instance, you can be just okay, average Joe at carpentry. Like I think everybody looks at carpenters and is like, I mean, that's amazing. Like your ability to work with wood, to assemble it, to make a piece of furniture, like that's amazing. Or you could be the literal best. Everybody knows it. Like, do you know that game Diablo? It's like the 2 sticks in the thing in the middle and they hit it.
Yeah.
That. You could be the best at Diablo. Deb Zehner, world's #1 Diabloer player. I don't even know, but something along those lines.
Yeah. I could be the best angel food cake baker.
But I think people would like that because it's baking. But it'd be like, I can be the best cake. I could be if I'm trying to think of baking, I could put the best eyes on animal themed cookies. And I was like, what?
Her eyes are amazing.
Yeah, they look lifelike. And you're like, but do I want them to be lifelike? I'm eating it. Or you could build a table that kind of wobbles.
I'm going to be the best at a weird thing.
Okay. Now I don't know that I disagree with that, but you have to pick the thing that you want to be best at.
Do you know the only reason that I say that is because, we talked before about knowing the states in alphabetical order.
Yeah, absolutely.
Which is totally a weird thing. I mean, like nobody cares. Except people would say nobody cares. Except there's every once in a while when that is like magical to know.
Sure.
It's just every once in a while. But when that happens, it feels great.
This is what I would be. Okay. If I was going to pick being the best at something. At a weird thing.
Yeah.
I would be the best at doing anything with a slinky.
Oh, a slinky.
Like, you know how you sometimes can and can't get it to go downstairs, or sometimes it just tumbles? Every single time, I just have that thing walk the stairs.
And would you have slinky tricks you would figure out?
Absolutely. Does it benefit me in any way? No. Do I make any money from it if I decide to not be a carny?
Yeah.
No. But I want to be the best slinky manipulator in the world, because that follows you. And people are like, do you know what Kevin's really good at? And I was like, nothing. And they're like, no, he's really good at a slinky. And they're like, what? Yeah, he could do anything with the slinky. And then you do it and people are like, why are you good at this? And you say, I don't know, but I know I'm the world's best. And after 2 minutes, they're like, great, we saw it go down the stairs. We're good. Can we go to the movie now?
Yeah, it would be like that. What was that show that we watched? It was a British show where people brought their antiques to the barn.
Antiques Roadshow.
Is that what it's called? No. You know what I'm talking about?
It was something where it was like a refurbished show where they bring a bunch of the old stuff and they repurpose it.
Well, and all of the people there, because these things, I mean, it was in Britain, so some of these things were really, really, really old. And some of these people, like, their specialty was, I mean, like, taking and making leather be like it was 13th century leather, right? Thinned out and almost paint cracks in it. I mean, just like that was their specialty, some weird little, obscure thing like that, which you and I were both impressed with when we were watching.
1,000%.
Right? So,
but now take those people and have them not be experts, but just really average at what they do.
Yeah.
Hey, so I know you were looking for like 17th century. This is more like mid-century modern. It's still the same thing, just not at all what you wanted, but it's functional.
It has to be an expert. So what am I going to be an expert in? I'm going to be an expert in...
Well, like whistling. You're a good whistler.
I'm a good whistler.
But like if you could like whistle songs or...
Yeah, that
it's still good. Whistling. Like it's not...
Yeah.
It's not impressive because the majority of people can whistle, but it's just like, yeah, Deb's just learned how to whistle better than everybody. And she can whistle like birds, but the fact of the matter is you don't know any of the birds that she's whistling like.
So I think like whistling, something like whistling would be good because, I mean, that would please me.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'll be the best whistler in the world.
I think if there's ever an opportunity to be the best at something, you take that.
You take it always.
Yeah.
Even if it's weird.
I will happily handle a slinky to the day I die, knowing I'm the best at it. And you can whistle the theme song to all of my YouTube videos.
Well, when you said slinky, it made me think of a yo-yo, which I love yo-yos. And then it made me think of jacks. You know what jacks are?
Like you drop the ball and then you pick up the jacks.
You have to pick up so many.
Yeah.
And I can remember playing jacks so much in elementary school, but the best place to play them was on in the winter, we played in a basement of the school.
Okay.
But it was slick. The floor was slick, and your hand could just swoop really fast and grab all the jacks before the ball. And then it made me think of jacks. And I thought I could be the best jacks player ever. I mean, so what's that? Nothing.
Half of the listening audience is with you right now, and the other half is like, what?
What is she talking about?
Jacks?
Oh, they don't know what jacks are.
Of course not.
Oh.
I kind of know what jacks are. They're the weird, like X-shaped things that sit at an angle, and you
pointy on one end.
Yeah, that if you fell on it is like a total health hazard. It's a swallow hazard, but it was clearly very ubiquitous in the 60s. And like you bounce a ball as high as you can, and while the ball's in the air, you try to pick up as many of the jacks as humanly possible.
You start with one, and so one is easy. You throw your jacks out, and then you start with one. Then you've got to get two. Then three.
Oh, I thought it was always to try to get as many as possible.
Well, in the end, it is try to get as many as possible, but you do it. There's a formula.
And then what was the rule on bouncing?
I think it's one bounce.
But then do you have to
bounce
catch it?
High.
Got it.
Yeah. So you got to bounce it high.
I figured it was you have to bounce it, grab your jack, and then catch the ball, because if you just wait for it to bounce again, then you just
catch
super bounce it.
So by the end, you've got to really, the beginning, it's no big deal.
Yeah.
By the end, you've got to super bounce it. The other thing too would be, like, our school had really good painted hopscotch squares.
Okay.
Be the best hopscotcher.
I don't know how you could be bad at hopscotch, but I love the idea of being the world's best.
There were people that weren't.
Imagine being your age right now and somebody saying, "Hey, do you want to see something really cool? Deb, come outside. She's going to kill this hopscotch course. She's going to kill it. She's the best. Her feet have arthritis in it. She's had knee replacements. Watch her master this hopscotch course."
But here would be the thing. If I could master a hopscotch course.
The rest of your life, your foot still hurts. You're still kind of slow because your knees are tired. But the second you stand in front of a hopscotch maze or whatever it's called, that would be hilarious.
That'd be amazing.
That was Would You Rather. Those were fun. Those were fantastic. Yeah. Okay, Deborah, as we wind this down, tell us what we will be consuming as a meal this evening for dinner.
I think we're going to have our Thai chicken noodle peanut sauce. Is it a salad?
I don't know. When people refer to a salad with noodles in it, or like when they call it a fruit salad, I think I just have always believed that salad has to have some form of lettuce in it. So it's weird to me, because it'd just be like, hey, I took these marshmallows, Skittles, M&Ms, and a licorice and chopped it up, and I made a candy salad out of it.
So this actually doesn't have any lettuce in it.
Right.
But it's cold.
I threw some romaine on it.
It's cold. It's good. It's got lots of good ingredients. The peanut sauce is the best. So I think that's what we're going to do.
That sounds delicious and healthy.
Kind of.
Somewhat. Deborah, what are you thankful for this week?
I am thankful that we got to travel together.
True.
And that we got to, with a good spirit, overall,
somewhat
manage the trials and tribulations of travel today. A couple canceled flights. But we made it through. We knew when to be nice. We knew when to put our foot down.
True.
And we even survived a red eye, which you and I have sworn we would never, ever do again.
Nope.
And we did it.
Was the bane of my existence when it happened. And yet here we are, still alive to tell the story. My thankful is being able to go to a place in the country that everybody else who had been there said, this is the greatest spot in the world. Is it ideal to go to Savannah, Georgia in the middle of June? Nope. But the thing that I do is I love the South, and I pretty much love the South at any point in time of the year. And so to go to a place that was so awesome, that was rich with history, and that I probably otherwise wouldn't have found myself going to, just because there's other places both globally and nationally that I would have probably preferred to go to. That's one of those things where you look back last year and if somebody would have said, hey, do you want to go to Savannah, Georgia on a whim? You'd say, oh God, please, yes. And here it was. So super duper thankful that I got to experience that, and that we made it there and made it home in somewhat one piece. We're clearly still emotionally distraught from everything, but that's just the life we live right now.
Flying today.
But it was wonderful and it was beautiful, and everybody we spent time with was equally as great.
I agree. It was terrific.
All right. Well, that's going to do it for this Monday's episode of the Deb and Kev podcast. Remember to like, rate, and review wherever you listen to this podcast. And you can follow us on all of our social media channels at Deb and Kev Pod. And you can watch this exact episode on Tuesdays at our YouTube channel at Deb and Kev Pod. Mom, I love you to death.
I love you, baby.
We will see you guys on Thursday.
Thank you for listening to the Deb and Kev podcast. Remember to like and subscribe wherever you listen to this podcast. Follow Deb and Kev on Facebook and on Instagram and Twitter at Deb and Kev Pod.